And what is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Beta Memoirs Nightly Watch List. And today was an interesting day. We had some things pushing. Microsoft, again, rally. You had NVIDIA had a monster run. There's a lot of partnerships news that came out today on NVIDIA. Tesla had a bit of a pop, but then kind of cooled off. Everything else was kind of up and down, then flat for the rest of the day. Ultimately, the market is getting ready, I think, positioning for this week. I think we won't really see possibly much movement tomorrow, but ultimately on Wednesday, when we get JP Morgan and Wells Fargo to kick this off, I think if we get some good numbers there, we are getting good data. We're getting some data tomorrow as well. So being said, but I think ultimately we'll get kicked off on Wednesday with the earnings. If those turn out well, then I would expect that this train starts moving upward and onward. But again, it was very promising to see Tesla with the move today, very strong bullish move today. It gapped up, slight gap up, and then pushed pretty hard today. It did run into some resistance, but looks like the buyers are there. So before we get started, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So being said, let me go ahead and throw up the screen for you guys. Make this full screen. Tesla, just talking about this. It is on the nightly watch. Let me go ahead and pull up the nightly watch here. This is what I got for nightly. Yes, Tesla spot. These two primarily because of earnings coming up. They do have monster runs before earnings, both on the end last week of April. Like I said, Tesla has already had some great numbers come out. I am in a good position in Tesla and shares. Spot, I am holding a call in. Etsy. We also got Voyager as far as to play off of essentially the Bitcoin craze and Coinbase that is coming out. Yes, I forgot to mention yesterday too on the weekly update that Coinbase is coming out IPOing on Wednesday. So keep that in mind if you are looking for that. But that is my sentiment play is for Voyager app. I think it's a much better app and so a much better company in general. So that being said, I wanted to try to get the sympathy play off of that with this, but these are all based off of the daily. These look good. Palantir looks great. STPK, TAN, Shop, Roku, Z. Moderna is also looking very good as far as on the daily. Now, let's get into the market. We can hit on Tesla real quick. There's not really much to hit on. I've talked about the big wedge that we've broken out of. We've built consolidation. Can we come back down and retest and kind of play this range? Tell the banks. I wouldn't be surprised if it came and retested tomorrow. But ultimately, I do expect this to gap over this resistance here and start running. Once we do get above that 713 mark, I think we really got some room to run. But let's go back to the market. The market in general. The market in general has been slowly grinding its way up into this trend line. I think once it does break it and run, I think ultimately what we're waiting for is bank earnings. Again, if we do get, I think good earnings is really what's going to push us up. The buyers are already moving and getting ready for the earnings season. Again, I think that's what's going to ignite this bull run. Typically does, and April is a very bullish month. We are a week in so far, but the earnings are just getting started. So being said, SPY still looking good. It's been rattling kind of around back and forth. There's a lot of deviation essentially between the value stocks and the growth stocks going on right now. I know Kathy Woods has talked about this many times before leading into March, but there was going to be the values essentially versus growth. And ultimately what's going on is you got a bunch of different random tech stocks. You got Apple, you got Facebook, you got Microsoft have just been running like crazy. And you have a lot of laggers like Tesla and Spot and Lemonade, Twilio, a bunch of those ones have been really lagging bad, and Palantir too. So that being said, we are essentially looking for I'm looking for those ones to start leading. And Tesla was looking, again, promising today. QQQ in itself, again, it looks like we are building consolidation here. Again, you can almost say it's starting to kind of round out, which could be a possibility. Again, but we are going into earnings. I think this actually does pump up, to be honest, start pumping. And then right after earnings, I wouldn't be surprised if we had quite a bit of a pullback at that point. Before then, we continue on with this bullish run. So being said, we can't just go straight up. We can't just go straight down. Of course, there's going to be ups and downs, but I still suspect a very strong bullish pull here. Being said, so that being said, the next we have on the watch list is Spot. Spot is looks great on the daily. It did have this wedge today. It did open up down, but bounced and broke above the wedge, so that's good to see. We did hold above the middle Bollinger Band, but we kind of built our way back below that. But again, I suspect this to start running. Spot is one of the ones that just starts ripping out of nowhere, and I think this earnings is going to be no different. They always do fantastic for their earnings. Again, they've already implemented a lot of different other features into Spotify, or not Spotify, but Spot in itself. Yeah, Spotify. So being said, I really see them having a great earnings this upcoming quarter. So being said, one to really keep an eye out, watch out. Again, it looks fantastic on the hourly and on the daily. Etsy is the other one. I talked about this one yesterday. It is consolidating nicely here. If we do come down and get a retest, which has been playing this range a little bit on the 213 mark, 213.85 mark, just watch the range. You really don't want it to break below that, although I think we could come and retest the 200 if we do pull back a little bit. There might be some kind of small pullback, maybe not. I mean, there's a lot of bullishness, I think, showing its face, even though that some parts of the particular the market look like it may want to roll over, only again because it's been led by three other different essentially tech stocks and some value stocks. But ultimately, you still got Tesla, who hasn't even ran at all. It had a short burst last week, and that was about all it had. We saw another burst today. If Tesla can really break out, it's going to pull the rest of the market with it. Voyager, this is one I got in today. I just got in shares. Again, this is a longer swing for me. Doing this based off the Coinbase and all the hype and stuff that's going in with Bitcoin. Bitcoin does run for 100K. I wouldn't be surprised if Voyager follows right behind it. And not only that, but Coinbase market cap is extremely high, and Voyager is but a fraction of that. And Voyager, in my opinion, is much better application. It is newer, but being said, I think it can make up some ground. So I am doing this the swing for a longer trade. Now, Palantir is one that's kind of thrown me off. It's been doing some good running, and then today it just dumped. But it is still holding well. It's still holding this range. It dropped back into this range. We don't want it below this 22.83. It's been playing this range for such a long time, especially in March. It played this $5 range almost from 25 close down to, I think, 22, 21.50 it even hit. But it's been playing this range for a long time, which I think it's eventually going to break out of this, but something to keep on watch as well. See, STPK is another one. Looks great on the daily. Again, playing range. A lot of these are consolidating and playing range. So if you can grab it at the 28.71 mark, around there, you don't want it to break this 200 at 28.10 at the 28.10 mark. But ultimately, if we can hold this range and break out, if you want more of a confirmation, definitely wait. If you can break above that 31.53 mark, if it breaks above that and does a retest, that would be essentially your cue to get in at that point. Let's see, TAN is the other one I have today. Now, TAN's been one I've been watching. It's been playing this range. It's actually building a solid base here. So if you can get it Anything below the 83 mark, again, you don't want it below the 8107 mark. But if you can get an entry here, hold it, make sure we can break this wedge and make a way back up. I think this is ready for another monster move here. In the energy space, as you can see, that we have this major wedge here, and then we also have the 200 support. So it's been building this base here. So I look forward to seeing a huge breakout in tan here pretty soon. But with that being said, shop is going to be the next one. Shop on the daily looks great. Looks like we got a lot of headroom. Looks like we're coming down and retesting the 1202 mark. So if that's the case, you got great support here on the daily, and we're back over the middle Bollinger Band and the 20 and the 50. So being said, if we do come down and play this range again, you want it to at least hold the 50 here, which you're sitting about the 1203 mark. So you don't want it to break below this. From that point, I think we might head down a little bit further, maybe retest the 200. Could possibly wait for the 200, although right now I'm not really sure if we do have any kind of small pullback. I could see that going into Wednesday just for a setup. It could be a possibility. It's not ruled out. We could sell off still, right? But we're trying to be as careful or as mindful as possible. Again, watch the support levels, but I think shop is lined up very well for the next coming days. Roku is another one. Roku, again, consolidation. A lot of these have a lot of consolidation. You don't want it to break below here, this last candle wick at 361.31. But ultimately, if Roku holds this would be a great move, or you can wait for a possible breakout here at the 377 mark and a retest and get in at that point. But ultimately, Roku, again, on the daily, looks fantastic. It broke out of the wedge. We are retesting the 20. Looks very bullish. You got the 20 and the 50 going into underneath the candle, and we may have already retested it at the 362.54 mark. But ultimately, it looks like we got some headroom to start running on Roku. And Z is the next one I have. Whoops. If I could type, that would be great. Z is the next one I have. Again, it retested all the supports underneath on the daily. Just break out of the wedge. So you got this great support here. Today would have probably been a really good entry here had I been paying attention. I could have grabbed it at the 138 mark. I was watching Tesla for the most part today, and some other different stocks that I had mentioned yesterday in the nightly. But ultimately, if we can retest the 139.63 mark, get an entry point there, write it out. You don't want it to break below this 200 and sink down, because that could be definitely a bad thing. But we did break over it. We're holding. We broke out of the wedge. All good signs. Plenty of headroom. I think Z is a good one for the next coming days as well. mRNA. This is another good one on the daily. Again, we broke in. We just retested the 139.36 mark. We've got a lot of headroom here. We got some resistance at 156.72, but ultimately this is looking very bullish. And again, lots of headroom here on Moderna. Being said, yes, you got a lot of headroom, a lot of good entry here. Ultimately, what might be best, you could take, again, a position here. It did come into the zone earlier today. If it does come back down to the 137.58 mark, possibly get that support off the 200, that be your entry, then go back up. But ultimately, you want it to break this 142.68 mark to get more headspace. But ultimately, that's what I got for you guys. There's a lot of great setups. We're just trying to see. The market does kind of look like it wants to roll over. Again, but we're coming into earnings right now. There's a lot of bullishness associated with that. And typically, especially Tesla run-ups, spot run-ups, are going to be the two big leaders, since you've already had your Apple, your Facebook, and Microsoft already running. Even Amazon's been running hard. And so I think Tesla's just lagging behind, but Tesla will get there once Tesla starts pushing hard. Again, the numbers and everything look good. Once that starts going, I think this whole train is going to start really rolling. So with that being said, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Again, manage risk, and I will see you guys tomorrow.